All right, Drake. So it has been what, 3, 4? Yeah, pushing about 4 months since I have seen you in a while. So let's make it three. I met you at the High Status Summit in California, where we were able to meet Jason Capito, Mike Shower, Bedros Koulian, Craig Ballantyne, and I know at the time when we literally just met in a group of people, um, everybody's introducing each other, and the one thing that stood out when during our interaction was that you asked me like, "Oh, I'm thinking about writing a book," because I told you, "Hey, I was writing a book," which I did. So, why don't you go ahead and start a little bit about your backstory, what you do, why do you want to do it, and where were you before?
Well, first I want to say thank you, man. You were a huge inspiration in saying like someone else is doing this,
Yeah.
right? So it's like you gave me all I needed to be able to go write the book and actually get something, which is phenomenal. So a little backstory on I guess what the book is about. The reason why I wanted to write this book is because I'm a bit of an extreme adventurer,
Yeah.
Isaac, and I think you know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love like that feeling when you get so far away from everything, where it's that amount of pain where you realize you're still gonna be okay.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's like it sucks, but you're like, oh my gosh, there's a whole nother level that
Yeah.
most other people never access.
Yeah.
So, I my book's about hitchhiking across the country last summer, and a little more about that. I guess the reason I did that, the reason that I've kind of started on this quest of adventure, and I'm starting my own company, Are We Worthy, is because, and you look around, and growing up in high school, this was my big thing. I would get out of every class, and everyone would drift off into the fantasy world, you know, and it's kind of
Uh-huh.
the world we live in now, but it didn't sit well with me as a kid, man, because I was the loner. I sat alone at school. I didn't know how to fit in because it was like everything was through these phones. And so the more that fantasy really set in, I was like, man, I got to get as far away from this as I can. And the best way I knew how to do that was just to freaking suffer like I've never done before. And when you're suffering, when you think you might die, man, there's no past and future. It's all right here
Yeah.
in the present. That's what I got by hitchhiking across the country.
Yeah, no, and I remember you were telling me that you're a lot more on the lifestyle and travel vlogging and traveling and book writing. And I actually was looking into your webpage, which I'll make sure to post a link down below when we're done. But it was so insane on just seeing somebody who wasn't, and this is me where of course, I really break the status quo. Lead generation, click funnels, Facebook ads, and everything that was related to marketing that anybody else could do. So the reason why you kind of just stuck out in the crowd was the fact that everybody was trying to do the same thing. So for the most part, everybody's having copycat syndrome or imposter syndrome. And in my opinion, when you and I were speaking, they're like, "Oh, I'm doing this and doing this," and I'm like, "Okay, so what's the difference between you being a personal trainer and the other personal trainer I just met? Like, y'all are still personal trainers. I don't know the difference." So when people were asking me, kind of just as much as they asked you, like, "What do you do?" Is like, "Oh, I love to travel and I love to write." What I was doing was more on the professional development side for leadership growth and development and personal growth and development. And if you top it off, you have to have personal growth as much as you have professional development. I don't care what you say. At one point, a solopreneur is going to need to take people under their wing and coach them and mentor them, quote unquote, your employees. And if you don't have an emotional intelligence to coach people, then you're probably going to hit this stagnant growth where you're like, well, I can't really grow my money anymore and I can't grow my business because I don't know how to manage people. So I remember Seth Godin said entrepreneurs aren't thinking about what's going now, they're thinking about what's about to go on next. And I don't care how much algorithm, how much hacking, how much rhythms, analytics that you can have, you still need to be able to coach people at the end of story, and that is it. Like, people are still always going to exist, and people nowadays don't have high emotional intelligence, or these soft skills, as I like to call them, to be able to have
skills. Those are the most important ones.
Yeah, I could teach anybody how to have a click funnel. I could teach anybody graphic design. I can't teach somebody people skills. I have to coach them. Like, it's very difficult to have soft skills, and that was something that I've always tailored towards. With menswear styling being in front of them, and of course time management and public speaking and all that stuff. It's an accumulation. It's abundance. It's not just one skill. It's a lifestyle. So absolutely, man, I agree with you.
Well said, and I think you have that teacher's personality very similar to me, which has made us a little different from down there, is that we have this desire as I like how you said solopreneurs there.
Yeah.
We really are right now. We have this desire to reach out, like we think we have a message, and we know we have something to share, right?
Yeah.
Writing the book is just one of the best ways to be able to do that. And so I'm interested with you too, is like me, when I got to be able to finally write all this stuff that fucked me up so bad on the road. Dude.
Yeah.
It was like a release. Like I was finally able to let go of all this stuff. When you finished your book, was that similar as well?
So, very similar to your story is like and the funny thing is about writing the book was I knew for sure that I couldn't do what people were doing now. I can't just give a free PDF download. Everybody's doing that. I can't just opt-in page for subscribing letters. I had to do something more because anybody can do that when you opt in, but I needed to be able to provide extra value, or quote unquote my business card of what I can do for somebody else on a personal level and a professional level. Some people call it work-life balance. I call it work-life integration. As much as I enjoy, like, of course, just having fun, this is still fun for me. It's an integrated system that I have. Like, me having this conversation with you is a work-life integration. And it's funny because when it came to writing my book, it also uncovered some things that I didn't even know about myself. Because it's kind of like you can look in the mirror for the longest time, and then you're like, just ironically speaking, the book, or coincidentally speaking, the book is who the fuck am I, and what it really boils down to, it's not about finding yourself, it's about creating yourself. And the book was a catalyst for me to uncover like all my insecurities and all the stuff that I'm holding as baggage and all the stuff that I keep like sounding like a broken record player. The release was just like, it's already there. I don't have to repeat myself. I can move on to what's next.
Yes, and it's just we're so lucky to be able to do that, because I feel like our business, man, when we're struggling for that better life, like I'm same as me. I'm sure you go to bed every single night, you dream of like, this is where I see myself, this is what I want, and I have dreams, man, vivid ones where I'm doing copy for Bora, where I'm being able to travel, like kayaking from Alaska to Seattle is my next dream. I have literal dreams about doing that stuff, right? And I feel like there's a lot of baggage that comes with that. And I feel like partially that's why I've been very drawn to copy and writing these books. Because maybe we should go through what copy is later too. But it's just so important to be able to have a release on all of that, because we're very alone in this. Is I've lost friends left, right, and center, man. When I started this journey, 4 months ago, was the Isetta Summit? Oh my gosh, man. I've lost everybody that I used to hang out with as a kid. It was like, they're crabs, like Bedros Keuilian always says. Everyone listening, check out Bedros Keuilian. The guy's incredible. It's like they grab you by your legs and they pull you back down to the bottom. So I've cut family. I don't talk to my brother anymore. I don't talk to any of my friends anymore. I have like 2 friends left. That's it. So, and there's a lot of freedom, and there's a lot of emotion with that. Growing up and having to leave behind your old life, it's hard. But then it just all comes back to the dream that every night, what's that better life? I'm looking for it.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because writing the book, and I have given, like, on my YouTube channel, I I'm expressing what I feel or what I feel I need to say so I can get it out of the way and move on to what's next. And a lot of people don't agree with that. Or maybe somebody doesn't agree with my video editing. Someone doesn't agree with my content. Someone doesn't agree with Instagram posts or maybe a blog or something like that. And I'm perfectly okay with that because regardless, I know I'm putting in my effort and my content that I believe in. Regardless whether anybody else agrees or disagrees, it's the fact that I'm putting out there, and I know for sure that validates my own self-worth because you're not doing it. I'm not putting out a rant on like, oh, because X, Y, and Z did this to me, I need to write about it and be a sorry sucker. No, I'm going to take the lesson that I extracted from what I learned and tell you exactly what you need to do so you don't be stuck in a similar situation that I am. And that's kind of one of the things when I revamped going to copy. Once I realized and seen like Mike Shower and Jason Capital, and it was all about copy, and being able to break down like what is my stuff about, or what is my website, my blog, my business about. It's personal growth and professional development. We're just normal guys who are expressing our own lessons and our own truths and telling you don't fuck this up because we did this, so you shouldn't do this.
Yeah, yes. Uh, Craig Valentine, friend of Bedros Koulian's, he talks about this thing called imposter syndrome. And it's the thought that because there's 7 billion people on the planet, that your services aren't that special, or what you offer isn't really valuable enough to go out in the market. And it's so false. It's so false. Everyone has that something. Everybody has one book, right? Everybody has that one experience they've been through. And we've got some damn good stories to tell, man. As I read the first chapter of your book so far, is all I've gotten through it. It was like, there's stuff to learn from everybody.
Yep.
All right? Not to mention that you're an incredible writer to go with it, but that helps.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everyone out there listening to this, don't fall for this imposter syndrome. Everyone around you telling you you can't do that, you can't do this. It's bullshit. You can do anything you want to do. All these people that you see rise through the ranks, when you get involved in our world, you start to see these people that are really successful, that are really going places, and then you get to meet them, and the only thing it shows you is how possible everything you want to do really is. So don't dream small. Don't fall for imposter syndrome.
Yeah, and so going from there, that's kind of why I got out of the style game and into professional development. A couple of years ago, I had this thing that I was going to be the next Aaron Marino. And then let's just say you had Ryan McGinn, Alex Costa, Antonio Centeno, the guys that pretty much made the style game. I'm like, you guys kind of stopped talking about style at one point and you went into lifestyle. So it's just, you know what? I need to get out of this because I'm not going to be able to compete. So I put professional development. I'm like, okay, I need to make this more about soft skills, more about people skills, more about personal growth and professional development. But going back exactly to you, going to the idea, I started out originally as a menswear style consultant. I changed. Where did you get this idea to become a copywriter? And I believe you said that you're in school. So where are you at now, and what was this idea that you're like after, like, you know, writing this book from when I met you at HSS? Where was this where you're like, I'm taking action right now. I don't care about imposter syndrome. I'm just pushing past that. What were you doing before, and where are you at right now? Now that you have the book and you're looking for that next big thing.
Yeah, it might be good to take a quick step back and kind of introduce myself a little better here. So, like, I did hitchhike across the country. I did do that. But before the High Status Summit, and after I hitchhiked across the country, there was a big gap in time between that, and I wasn't doing anything. It was, I'm a college student right now at the University of Montana, and the longer I'm here in college in Missoula, it's rough, man. It's like, I feel like college teaches you everything, but the two most important skills in life is how to have real connections, like the right now, and then have money, because money is the platform that allows you to see the change that you want in the world, right? So the thing that really inspired me to go for it and take that action is, of course, we go to HSS, we meet people like Dan Vania, the $50 billion man, Jason Capital, one of the greatest influencers in the world as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
Right? So these people were incredible, and then you see this happening. It comes back to environment is destiny, right? Is while they didn't teach us any specifics like how to build a click funnel, how to do anything like that, they immersed us into a world that we didn't know was possible, right? None of us were raised like that. College doesn't teach you to do this shit. It's supposed to be a myth, and then you go out there and it's like finding a unicorn. Real world, right? It's like this is so real. So after that, I started my own mastermind group with people we met there at HSS. With another guy, his name's Austin right now. He's on the verge of $7,000 a month off of his laptop, doing copywriting for brand and entrepreneurs across the country. Right? Like, that gets incredible. He's 19. He's 19, and just when we met, we were both at the same level 4 months ago. No idea what we were going to do. No idea how we were going to make the impact we wanted. We just knew that we needed to take it. And that's a hard feeling to have, but then when you find this one thing, it's an insult to yourself and everybody else if you don't pursue that spark in the back of your mind that says, I can do this, I can go for it, and it's possible. So that was the big motivation that kind of made me take that leap forward, and it's made me really love, like you were just talking about with life integration. I love what I do, man. I sit in my basement for like 8-10 hours a day, and I'm just typing all day. Like, let's go. And it's fun. And you just build these muscles in the environment that I expose myself to, and I'm continuing to expose myself to you. Prime example right here is what motivates me to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. So where exactly, and because you know how nobody ever I think Sharon Srivatsa said that Jason Capital stole it. Transformation doesn't happen in isolation. So what was your turning point? You said that you're in college at the University of Montana, and you know there was a point where you weren't doing anything. What was your turning point that you kind of had this thing was, I need an income. I need this income that I can work for, a high income that people will pay me. What did you do? What did you think of at that time, and how did you acquire this now new copywriting skill?
So, man, let's go and let's dive in then.
Yeah.
Was that at the very base of everything that I want to do, everything that I am? I'm a tree hugger, man. At the end of the day, it's like that's what I am. I love nature, and my first memory that I have of this, that I was like, I need to protect what's left of the natural world, was I was in second grade, and I would come home every day from school, and I'd sit on my deck across the lake on the mountains when it would snow. It would fill in like the face of an orca with the trees and snow and everything. It was my imaginary friend, man. I told him everything. I got bullied at school. My best friend heard about it. My parents didn't hear shit. Tell everything to this whale across the lake. And second grade was the time it happened. So winter rolled around. I was looking forward to seeing my best friend in the whole world, and he wasn't there. So I did the most research a little second grade kid had ever done, and I went in and I found out that there was logging practices. They essentially killed my best friend and took all my secrets with him, right? So as a second grader, that was devastating, man. And of course, logging isn't evil. I learned all about that stuff. But it was just very hard for a little kid to go through. And it's funny how those little things like that are what's hard in your mind back in the day. So from that moment on, it was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I want to protect and conserve everything that's here, man. It's like I've ran into grizzly bears barefoot in the woods before. I've been stalked by a cougar before. I've done all this cool stuff, and it just makes me love it. So how I thought I was going to do that was going to college, studying, and my major right now is ecological restoration, and becoming a restorationist. Then I hitchhiked across the country, and I found out what I saw was how much money it takes to change the world, how much money it takes to do anything. Is there were some rich people that picked this up, and they were talking about how they owned 12 restaurant chain or something like that, making like $3-4 million a year, stuff like that. And that was my first exposure to these people that they owned a restaurant, but they were donating to this, or they were doing this. It was all a stepping stool to make the change they wanted to see. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
This is how you're supposed to do it. I like, this whole time, I thought I was just going to go be a hand for the federal government, right? Get paid $40,000 a year and just be a super cool dude. I used to always tell everyone I was going to be a hobo too. So
Yeah.
It was like, I wanted nothing to do with the typical world. I just wanted to protect what was out there. And then when I met these people that were actually making differences, actually doing the things I wanted to do,
Yeah.
I realized the stepping stool you're all using is money. And then hitchhiking across the country, I said I can get that. I can get there using my story, inspiring other people to get out and protect what I love.
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't suggest hitchhiking across the country, but
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend getting out and exploring and finding the value that you want to give to the world, because that's the only way I found it out. Because it takes a lot of money to be able to change what you want, and making money is not taking money away from anybody else. It's just giving more value to the world.
Yeah, and that's amazing that, like you always, I know, right? You said it's so weird because like I feel like I'm a geek out here, but you said second grade was your turning point, and it's so funny because as I put in my book, because I work for psychologists and I see a lot of clinical histories of people and their mental side, and a lot of people don't think that mental health is a real thing. They think it's just more medical, not diabetes or stuff like that, but it does affect on your self-esteem and your way of thinking and your way of processing and your way of interpretation of a lot of different scenarios. And your biggest memory, you were probably 7 or 8 when you had that situation occur. Well, for the majority of the people that are out there, between the ages of like 0 to 7, more specifically to 2 to 7, your brain actually goes through these waves. So right now we're in this this alpha beta stage where we're conscious, but believe it or not, our brain is not as active as we think it is. When we're asleep, our brains go through these like theta waves, meaning that our brain is very active at night, but given our subconscious is actually at night. So kind of to make things short, have you ever gotten up in the middle of the night and you kind of turned positions, but you went straight back to sleep? Like you didn't get up in the night immediately? That was your subconscious telling you, hey, I'm a little uncomfortable staying in this position for so long. I need you to wake up a little bit, turn around to go back to sleep. So you can prevent bed sores. But again, your brain is that active at night because it's pretty much functioning, right, on a subconscious level. It's breathing for you. It's pumping blood for you. It's making sure your brain has oxygen. So there's a lot going on that we don't think about as opposed to when we're in our conscious level. So between the ages of 2 to 7, going exactly back to what you just told me, your experience when you were in second grade, you're actually in a subconscious level. Meaning you're literally still in the learning phases of your developmental process as a human being, but you remember that specifically. You don't remember anything else, maybe bits and pieces there, but that specifically. As opposed to, we could say a story that happened last week or 2 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago, but we can't do that when we were 7 because there was only bits and pieces that actually stood out. But that was the learning process. So I completely understand. Yeah, I know. And I put that in my book because what that boils down to is we all have different upbringings, and that upbringing is going to determine the next 20 years of our life. So the fact that we're in our 20s right now, and we're aware now of what's in the past and what we're doing now, it's going to tell us what we're going to do in the next several years from now because we are woke. And it was so funny because Mike Shower said woke at copy. But the thing is that I dove so deep into being self-aware, into self-clarity, is that now, not that I question my habits, I pay attention. So I write down if there's a particular, this is kind of like a brain dump for you. If there's something that I feel like I'm doing wrong, I'll write it down, or a problem I can't solve, and then how I feel about that problem or the actions I've taken. So I'll spend 10, 15 minutes just kind of doing a brain dump every day. And then I find the correlation of what emotion or what action have I done to solve this problem and why can't I solve that? You do that over the period of 2 weeks to about 30 days, you'll figure out that there's a pattern, which is a habit that's stopping you from solving that problem.
Yeah, and those things get hard to break down, man. It's the one thing, the one metaphor I always use. I have a brick wall right next to me in my room, right? So I wake up every morning and I say one more brick, but it goes the other way, right? We've been unconsciously putting bricks on bad habit walls,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call them, building these things forever and ever and ever, and then to break those things down, you can't just start building another wall unless you just fence yourself in. You gotta bash your head and just go everything at this wall forever, and it's hard, and it usually takes about, I think it's like 16 days is what it usually takes to like first break
Yeah.
habit, and then it takes like 30 to 45 or something like that before you finally start locking in a new one. It's hard. It's so hard, man. And then I think that's why a lot of people stop short of their potential, is that you won't see results, or I mean, not even the first 16 days. You won't see most results for the first 6 months of the year.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a hard process to go through. But as we all know, success isn't this exponential curve, like no human growth graph or anything.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
It's like a stepping stool, man. You go at the plateau, you walk through the valley for miles, and it's like, man,
Yeah.
the mountain was cool at first, right? Now it sucks. And then you gotta climb the mountain. And all of a sudden it's the next valley, right? And it takes a long time to do those things. You just gotta know that next view is gonna be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% agree. And going from there, so going from the background that we've kind of uncovered of both of us, and pretty much the actions or emotions that we are feeling to put us into here, what was your, again, that one stepping stone to have the now high income skill that college isn't teaching you? Because I went to college and I graduated. You're in college and you're like, I need to get out because, well, one, this is just, it's becoming redundant where it's like we can make a whole bunch of money and then save the world, as opposed to save the world because we need a degree to do that. That's not going to get us the high income skill or money that we need to actually save the world.
Right. Saving the world is a big thing because we all have our own idea of what saving the world is. And then that's a rabbit trail that goes way down, man. But the one step, I think, was I was on the phone with Austin the other day, one of the guys in my mastermind call, and he was like, man, I was taking a quiz in class today, and one of the questions was my favorite chocolate dark, white, or milk chocolate?
Uh-huh.
What the fuck am I learning in college? So I was listening to him talk about that, and I was like, man, my final project right now, I just went and cut the branch off a tree and said, no, this isn't a cedar tree. This is a Cupressaceae bujuplicata.
Yeah.
Northwestern. So that's the kind of stuff where that's been the biggest stepping stone, kind of stepping back from all this, is because I'm learning all this really valuable information in college, like they keep telling us. And then when I went to the High Status Summit, first thing I did is come back and talk to my professors. Do you know any local business owners I can talk to and start doing copywriting for them to get that income so I can get my book off the ground? They shot me down, man. It was like, I don't see like anything like that with every word.
Yeah.
It's like these business school professors, and I actually had a very similar experience to Jason Capital Lewis. I was walking in all dressed up in my suit and everything, right? I was ready to pitch my deals. And I see one of the college professors pull up next to me in this old beat-up car, ties thrown over their shoulder. They like a lot. They try to close their briefcase in their door and sprint inside past me. It's like, why the fuck are you teaching me what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Right? I was so happy right before that, but then this person in a beat-up old car, this college professor with all this knowledge, comes in, showed working for somebody else, never done anything in their life, never made a difference, never. Now, I guess I can't say all that, but it's like, you're trying to teach me how to go and change the world when you've never done anything. And it wasn't a snap point for me in college like that. It has been a continual build-up. Now that I'm in my third year, I got 3 more semesters left. I've just looked back on everything, and it's like, I've never been taught how to be a leader. I've never been taught how to be a man. I think there's a war on masculinity today. Elliot Hulse goes in a lot to that.
Yeah.
I've never been taught how to do any of the primary skills in life except for how to follow somebody else's lead. And that's what college teaches you how to do. At the end of the day, that's all you're learning. It was like the factory bells. You listen to the bell and you do what someone else says, and that is what's kind of directed me in this new path. And now I get to talk with awesome people like you. It's great.
And it's so funny because there's a lot that goes on to just what you told me. So kind of my breakthrough was 2017. I went to my first conference in Atlanta, and it was the Style Con 2017 with Aaron Marino and Antonio Centeno. And everybody was a style, like everybody was trying to do custom suits. Everybody was doing this. So I just thought you just have to dress good, post a picture on Instagram, and that's it. Like people think of you a thought leader. And then it's not that way. Apparently there's copy behind that. Like copywriting's a real thing and you have to have copy in it. So I was about to graduate. I was insecure. And that same year or the following year, I ended up getting an opportunity as a grad assistant. And this is going to teach you a lot about higher education and why I think it's a facade. And I think it's more about the skill rather than the information. So most professors don't really get scholarships, so they get stuck in a lot of debt. Bad problem is that Texas is probably the only school, or Texas is the only state that has the school that actually pays them decent money. In theory, they only get paid like maybe $700 per month to teach 3 classes, right? Yeah.
Wow.
So all that doctorate degree, all that doctorate work, that's all they get paid for. And then you have people like us who think outside the box. Instead of teaching you theoretical bullshit, we're going to teach you a high income skill or provide you information that allows you to get high income skill, quote unquote, professional development to keep on continuing improving your skill. And as a grad assistant, I'm like, okay, so I'm definitely not going for my doctorate's degree. I'm like, fuck this shit. But
Sure.
yeah, I was like, this is not worth it. Like, it's not. It only fills my ego. It doesn't fill my wallet.
Yes, that was so well said. Because it feels good to say I'm a doctorate. I have this not fancy degree. But what does that really mean at the end of the day? Not much.
Absolutely, dude. And I work for psychologists now, of course, with doctoral degrees, clinical years of experience. And I also work with people who are in practice or they're just research. And I think where a lot of people get stuck at, and you and I can both say this, is in the research phase. Not the action, not the development, not the domino effect of the research. We just get stuck in research that we think we need to be perfect. No, you're going to throw the fucking grenade. It's going to get messy. You're going to pick up the pieces, and then you're going to throw another one while you have all the pieces in your hand and try to pick those up too, and then keep pushing forward.
Yes, exactly. So you could almost go a little deeper into that, I think, because that's a huge topic. What is it? What do you think it is that gets people so stuck in that? I need to know how before I take action. What do you think that is?
So I can soak up all the information I can, but psychologically speaking, if I soak up too information and I don't take action on it, I'm anxious because I keep on thinking I need more information, or I'm not perfect enough to act on that information. And really, it's counterintuitive. I can read all the books I want about, how to make 6 figures, but if I'm not putting any effort to actually make those 6 figures, I'm anxious because it's like, well, where are my 6 figures? I read all the books. Well, have you asked anybody? And it's simply just pushing forward, just taking the first step. Even if you trip, or even if you fall, or even if you slip, it's perfectly fine. Just make sure it's forward and not backward. You know what I mean?
And you're going to go backwards a time or two.
Yeah.
The one part is just to have that vision. You know where you want to go, right? And I think that is the thing that gets most people stuck, is they're like, man, it'd be really nice to be in Bora Bora right now, writing a book and making money and all this stuff. It's like, it's everybody's dream. It's what everybody wants.
Yeah.
But no one really has this idea, this goal, and then everyone's so. It's a perverse form of procrastination, is what it is. Is they're reading, gathering more information, all this stuff. You don't need more information.
Yeah.
Nobody had any information. Some of the richest men in the world, like Dan Pena, Jason Capital, all this stuff, it's like they had no idea what they were doing when they started. They
Yep.
didn't know how to market it. They didn't know how to they barely knew how to send out emails, man. And look where they are today. It's all because they said, I might not know how to do it, but somebody else does. All right, so they went for it. You can't do everything with just this knowledge, with this book knowledge. The real stuff is, as we are starting to learn more and more, it doesn't come from this book study that college makes us do.
Yeah.
It doesn't come from what our parents taught us to do. It comes from getting out there and getting your ass kicked again and again and again until you say, man, I might have this figured out.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, kind of in that sense, exactly where, like, after we've, like, kind of gone past that imposter phase and you're like, you know what, fuck it, we're just going to do it. My biggest step was by 2021, I'm going to be a TEDx speaker. And the book was going to be a catalyst because it was going to allow me to general society, as at least you know this as a copywriter, we kind of have to market to not the brightest people in the world, right? You have to read and write at a first grade level. Well, my book is so conversational. It's like this, the same way that we would be talking is the same way you're going to be reading the book. Because it's like, well, that's why I called it a perfectly imperfect guide. Because the guide is not perfect. It's imperfect and it's a guide. It's not, it's like the movie Pirates of the Caribbean. You know how they say that parlay and all that stuff? Like parlay, you know, the rules. You can't do this to me because I said parlay. Well, they're more like guidelines instead of actual rules. And when I resaw that, I just realized life just has a whole bunch of guidelines. There's no rules. But then again, to kind of set the tone there, we mask the rules out of fear. You only have 2 rules that you can break in life. Black and white. That is it. Don't get it any more complex than it could. Don't put in any outside factors. Black and white like a little kid, and in a way you're going to be egocentric. I have morals, and then I have these folkways or social norms. I can break a social norm like eating with my hands and talking with my mouth full. I don't give a shit. That's the way I eat. You know what I mean? Or opposed to how I call, like, you steal, you rape, you murder. That's immoral. Sometimes by our upbringing, by the way we feel, by our emotions, by our past experiences, we kind of mask these social norms that are within our household or even within ourselves as if they're morals, and they're not.
Well said. Yeah, well said for sure.
And that's what's stopping us from actually getting to the next step. So that's why I wrote my book. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to reach out to you, was because I knew you were writing a book. And I was like, you know what? Everybody starts somewhere. When I started my lessons for the influencer series, I just had my buddy who was a university coach. I'm like, he said, hey man, why don't we go ahead and do a video on your YouTube channel? I'm like, well, I've never done it with someone before, but sure, why don't we figure it out? Everything that you could honestly think that went wrong. And I'm like, you know what? I need to put this in the behind the scenes because this is awesome. Because this is the beauty of it. It's not supposed to be perfect. There's no such idea. Being normal is not real. Being perfect is not real. The status quo is a facade. It's an illusion. It's something that creates a barrier from our own personal gain and our own ambitions. And it's exactly why we're having this conversation today.
Exactly. It's all about the reframing that mindset that I feel like you're very good at. Is all this self-introspection and everything has allowed you to be able to say, like, man, I'm so comfortable with myself that I can be able to do anything at this point. So I have a lot of respect for that, because that's a very, very hard thing to be able to do. But yeah, it's like, you're so right. Things don't have to be perfect. Things don't have to, it's imperfect action or a perfectly perfect or a perfectly imperfect guide. Is that what you
Yeah.
said? Yeah.
Because it's so perfect at being imperfect. And you can't even counter that, because it's like, well, you can't even be perfect at being imperfect. You see what I mean?
It keeps going, right?
Yeah.
Just keep going. And then it's just fun to be able to play the game. What was it? I was listening to some man talk not that long ago. It's just like the goal in the game isn't to win, like we're taught to win, right? It's to be able to keep playing. And most people tap out at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep up. They stay the same their entire lives. They go home, they get their paycheck, and they sit on the couch and watch TV. SpongeBob, man, that's my favorite. So
No, I believe with you, man.
it's the same thing, right? They do it their entire lives, or you can choose to play the game and make a difference that you want. You can choose to give to the person next to you. You can choose to have your cup overfilled so it can fill up the next person's cup. You can open the door for them and let them through, right? That's the life that I want. I want to be able to give to my family. I want to be able to give to my friends. I want to make connections.
Yeah.
This thing we're doing. It's hopefully we can impact somebody on this as well. That's listening, saying like, man, you know what? I might be able to do that too. It's just all about reframing this mindset, just like you have done. Just reframe it because you can do it.
Yeah, man, and it's just kind of one of those things where, you know, the High Status Summit was my first official big event, big official online marketing. And looking back, I kind of realized, like, in college I didn't have confidence because I didn't have a degree. And then I thought I needed to get a master's degree, so I went to go to grad school, and then I had the corporate America job. And then that was more depressing than ever. And then I was just like, you know what? I need to take a step back, and just really focus on myself. And again, just exactly the same reason that we're having this conversation, Jake, and it's awesome to experience that with you, is we're not finding ourselves, we're creating ourselves. Because who knows, this exact conference call may be a start to your next journey in terms of content, in terms of impacting somebody else. And I knew for sure that I've always wanted to be a public speaker, considering I'm naturally introverted and big crowds actually scare me. But it was like, you know what? I have to get comfortable in being uncomfortable. And most of the times I'm in a lot of uncomfortable situations that I'm just being dogged on, and I'm just like, all right, motherfucker, let's go, kind of thing. And you know, you just push through, right? Like, it's not supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be messy. And so, yeah, man, like, so given in that sense, I know you said that you hitchhiked across country, you wrote your book. What's the next major step that you want to do? And let's just kind of think hypothetical here. Let's say you kind of have this epiphany or revelation that, you know what, I don't need this college. I know what I'm gonna do. The next big thing. What would that be?
What would that be? So, dude, I have a journal that I write in every single night about all the stuff that I want to do. Right, I want to be on talk shows. I wanna talk about all this stuff. I want to talk about toughness. Is a big thing I've discovered lately. The next big step for me is, in an ideal world, man, is I'm going to be kayaking from Alaska to Seattle. I have a website right now, areweworthy.com, where I have my book posted, and then my goal is I want 15, 20 real-life adventure stories, because that's my thing. I feel like there's a lot of fantasy around us all the time. These phones, the past and future, no present. I feel like I want the real, and I want to bring that back to the world. And then, as well as, I've never been happier than when I was on the edge of death.
Yeah.
I started in the woods for 3 days, and it was like, I thought I was going to die.
That's awesome, man.
You make it when you come out. I mean, it was I had an 8-pack for like 2 days, man. I was so proud of it. I was so hungry. So, this is what I want, man. And this has been the big thing that I've been pushing for. I've been challenging my body in ways I've never done before. I just did something called the 40% challenge, where I ran 18 miles through the forest barefoot, right? And I couldn't walk for like 2 days afterwards, but I finished.
Yeah.
So I'm unlocking these next levels, and I don't see it as the next step, really. I'm almost looking to like the step after that next step.
Yeah.
Because I want to keep going on this. I want the books. I'm doing copywriting right now. I have 2 clients on free trial. And then hopefully we can convert them this week. So I want to be a good copywriter. I want to be a good author. And then at the end of the day, I want to be able to inspire people to go have that revelation with themselves that I am so much tougher than I think I am. Because feeling that has been one of the most satisfying things in my life.
Yeah, man. And so that's super awesome that you put yourself in these really uncomfortable situations, not metaphorically speaking, not mentally speaking, but physically speaking, to where it's like my mental game had to be so strong that I had to literally be like Bedros Keuilian. We don't have resources, be resourceful. You know,
Yeah.
you just have to go in that fight or flight mode and say, your wealth doesn't matter, your fame doesn't matter. What matters is surviving. And a lot of people don't survive, they just kind of sustain. And when I mean sustain, I mean on a complacent level. They're just like, I'm okay here. As opposed to, if this is their like comfort level, they're right below their comfort level. You decided to put your like comfort level and your sustaining level, like life sustainment, you flipped it. You're like, I'm really uncomfortable right now, and I need to put this, everything that I know in my comfort level, put it here to be comfortable and get the fuck out of this turmoil that I'm in.
Dude, it's the only way to unlock that next level is because I can sit here and think all day. I need to be tougher. I need to work harder. I need to focus harder. I need to be able to work more hours. It doesn't happen just overnight. You don't do anything by thinking about it. And the easiest way I found to challenge and get that next level is just to freaking suffer physically. Because your mind has to level up to compensate for your body.
I love that, man.
It's way more capable than your body will ever be. And it's like, when you, man, I can't even describe what it was like to starve in the woods for 3 days. Because then when you think you're going to die and you hit that next level, you realize you're okay, right? There'll be like 4 or 5 hours where you're like, man, there's no way I'm done. And then, like, factually speaking, like, we know people can survive for 3 weeks without food. Like, they can do that. I was gone for 3 days, and I thought I was going to die. So you think about that, and it's like, how many more levels are there? Most people don't go 5 hours without eating.
Yeah.
Right? If you think about that, how much of your percentage, how much are you eating in your life if you can't go 5 hours without eating? 5%, maybe 10%?
Yeah.
It's like, most people stop at the 40% wall. They say that's all I can give. What would happen if you did that next 60%? If you could only even give 50%, you could get a whole nother level, man. There's a lot more than we know we're capable of, which is why I have so much faith in me and you that we're going to be having this talk on the big stage soon, man.
Yeah, man, dude, that is fucking great. I love how you said that. What are you using? 5%, 10% if you can't even go 5 hours? But I do love exactly how you've taken what most people think is mental turmoil. You take it into physical only to enhance your mental capacity, which is great because a lot of people can't do that. So the fact that your physical body's in stress and you're in this fight or flight mode, you have to make sure you can conform your brain to be like, you know what, I need you to make sure that the rest of me is intact. I need you to know that, like, my brain is literally the reliance one here, not my body, right? My brain is. And that's so awesome that you do that. So where would people be able to find you, find your story, find your experiences, find anything that you post and related to your lifestyle and your content?
So the big thing I'm doing right now is I love Instagram, man. As much as I talk about the fantasy thing, I love Instagram. My Instagram account is number 4 Jake Blue is my last name, and then my website at areweworthy.com. I have a book there, and I have a weekly newsletter where you can get the first chapter of my book free if you sign up. And I'd be so happy to have you there. I send out 1 email a week where we talk about the newest adventures, the next thing, and why you can do it. And then soon, you guys are going to get to see me kayak from Alaska to Seattle. And that might fucking kill me. But we're going to okay?
Well, I'll tell you what we're definitely going to do is make sure that, 1, it doesn't kill you because I believe you're a very strong individual. And 2, when you finish that, you're going to come back onto the channel. And this time, once I have everything set up, I want you to contribute that story to my blog. So you have your own personal thoughts, experiences out on that story because that's fucking amazing, man.
I appreciate that, dude. That means a lot. And I really appreciate you having me on today. This has been a great experience for me.
Absolutely, man. And I thank you very much for your consideration, your time, your effort, and just your contribution to give me a different perspective in terms of expanding your mental capacity, and also like like what nature can do to your physical body, and overall that you have to grow. Like, well, when you come back to the city life, you're laughing at people that they're like, oh, I can't pay my car, I can't do this. You're like, ha ha ha. Like, it's like you're weak. And you can say that because it's like, my physical body wasn't weak and my brain was stronger than my physical body. You're complaining about something. I put myself in so much uncomfortable situations. I got myself comfortable to manage through those uncomfortable situations. So I pushed my threshold. So now it's like, you know, for sure you will figure it out like you always do, man.
For sure. Isaac, it's been good, my friend. But until next time, huh?
Yeah, man. Thank you very much, dude. So I wish you the best on your journey, and again, it was a pleasure to put you on my show. So I would definitely go ahead, put everything out for you, and we'll definitely keep in touch. All right, brother.
We'll talk soon, man. Bye.
Take care, Jake. Bye.